Daily I find the time to be quiet. Love you when the lights are low and I'm with you. Love you when I'm all alone and I miss the way you walk, yeah. Shoulders back, hoodie up like you don't mind. When you look my way, love, you stop and stare. I can tell I've been on your mind all the time.
Yeah, turn on the Tygo. Got a big night ahead. South Park is back, so I'm really excited about that. Um, got some new decor in my apartment. I think a lot of people would like me to point it out. The Bucks championship banner and the Cardinals 11-time world champion banners, and because why not? And that's how we do it. So a lot of people haven't seen my face in a while. They don't realize that I still do talk about sports and movies and movie reviews and things like that. So I've watched a few movies recently. Why is this stream so dark? I feel like it's very dark. Can we like get it? Um, it just looks really dark. Do I have to do it? Oh, there we go. All right. I was thinking about it. I have a very pale complexion as I do a simulcast. And it was like years ago, and this goes right into a segue about the Cape Cod Baseball League and the film that was on MLB Network the other day, which is Summer Catch with a couple well-known actors. Well, one actually, Freddie Prinze Jr. and the actress. I forget her name. She's from Minnesota, but she's great. I think she was probably one of the hottest in the late '90s. Although this movie came out in 2001. Oh, Jessica Biel and Brittany Murphy was also the one that tragically passed. Brittany Murphy, but yeah, man, Jessica Biel. She was on that show Seventh Heaven, and I grew up watching the show Seventh Heaven, and I don't know. It was a good little show, kind of a religious family, I think, or something. And but you know, if you grow up in my neighborhood, there's a few religious families, and there's not, and then there's everyone in between. And so it's a very diverse neighborhood. But I think everybody watched that show, or at least the more religious families than the families that just like whatever had a lot of kids and could relate to it, kind of thing. But she was on that show, Jessica Biel. And anyway, so I was thinking about it, and I used to be really tan, and people thought that I played in the Cape Cod baseball. Like I did not, but I did some landscaping work for Uncle Fred, and this is like middle school, high school, and I was going to go to Florida State. A lot of people know, but I didn't. I ended up going to Missouri, and here we are. But this was years ago. Um, but I thought of this because I have a beard going right now, right? And I'm thinking about it because I I haven't been comfortable with the I don't know, like 2, 3, I don't know, 9 day shadow, and it's just like I haven't been comfortable with it in a while. There was a time period where my girlfriend at the time she preferred it, and then everyone since then, like the previous women after that, the women thereafter were like, no, we don't like it. You have to shave. It touches my face bad, and so I was like, okay, well then I'll clean shave, and I like clean shave. It makes me feel like a man and like a mensch, and I prefer it. But I also like the scruff. It's kind of a more of a ragged look. It's kind of a edgy kind of vibe, and but anyway, so I was thinking back to it because I used to be tan. I think I look better with a beard when I'm tan, and so I think I was on like Spring. Shout out to Boomer Esiason Foundation, by the way, doing big work in the cystic fibrosis community. Boomer's been on vacation the past couple days. I haven't seen him in the morning. I usually like waking up to Boomer and Geo. Anyway, but so going back to this beard story, so I was like on spring break, 2010, I think, and I had the same kind of beard, and we went to Destin. This is like a year before Panama City Beach, so we went to Destin, and it was my first spring break experience. So like I didn't realize we went the same week as many SEC schools. This was like, by the way, I was a senior in high school in 2010. Um, this was not a college spring break. Even though my friends and I we treated it very much like it was a college spring break. Nonetheless, we were in Destin, which is kind of like the offshoot. Like most people go to PCB, obviously, or like I don't know, back then I think people still with the Daytona, but I think PCB has been really the spot for like the past 15 years, and people know that. But regardless, we went to Destin, which is kind of an offshoot. It's kind of like a Gulf Shores, Alabama type deal. It's not as bumping, but it's still bumping, but not, same extent, not the same kind of crowd. It's kind of a more groupy type feel. Anyway, so we're in Destin, and I have this like beard, right, and I'm very tan because I was working outside with my hands like a lot, like just doing odd jobs, and it was like right around baseball season. I might have been like playing a little summer baseball league or something, not the Cape Cod league, right? Just like a local, shit league, whatever. And I just remember because it was the same week as the SEC schools, and I was, mind you, I was in high school, and and me and my friends, a couple of us, were like darker complected at the time because we'd been, outside and stuff. And some of these women from, I don't know if it was, I think it was actually from University of Alabama, a couple from what was it, like Oklahoma State, I believe was on big group of Oklahoma State people were there too. So it was like U of A, Oklahoma State, and even Auburn was actually there that week too. So it was Auburn, Alabama, and Oklahoma State were like the three big ones, and just like some other ones. But some of these women, like they had never seen guys from the North, right? Like, not that I'm, like it's not like we're from Minnesota or anything, but it's like they had never, they don't realize like we didn't wear like shorts that were like above our what do you call it, knees at the time, right? This was like 2010. This was not common practice back then, especially in the North. So we had like longer shorts maybe than everybody else, maybe darker complexion, maybe different haircuts. And I just remember they kept because Jersey Shore had just come out at the time, right? So I think that they really thought that I was this like big Guido, and some girls were like asking to take pictures with me and stuff. And it's not like I was really like Mike the Situation. Like I didn't put gel in my hair by any means. Actually, I think I did one night to go to this foam party. But anyway, it was crazy to me because if you go to the Jersey Shore, you see like what most people would regard as like, your typical like Jersey Shore Guido, and I just was not that, and none of my friends were, and so it was just very odd to kind of get that comparison. But anyway, I guess I'll take it at the time. Anyway, it felt kind of nice to get the tags and all these different pictures, which I totally deleted one night, and like maybe 2017 or 2018, I was just like going through all my old pictures, and I was pissed off, and I was like, screw this, get this out of my life. I don't want these pictures. But no, but it was interesting. So it's just that's like my social perception of women from the South that don't really see a lot of men from, I guess, the North, or in this case Northeast, and but they just think like if you're darker complected, maybe you know have a little beard action, shorter hair, like a fade haircut type thing. I think back then maybe I had like a shorter on the edges. A lot of guys have fades now, common practice, even like in LA. But I just think that's interesting. It's funny like what people think of you because it's all relative, right? Like at the end of the day, it's all relative. Like if you've never seen a real Italian person and somebody like me who's like very much a mutt and like not really much Italian at all, but I guess to them that's like, oh my god, look at all that. No, they didn't say oil, but the oil spill did come, I think, like a month later. So kind of funny, the Gulf oil spill, of course, and BP had to clean that up. Anyway, a lot of news, and what was I going to talk about besides that? Was just a little funny story. I don't know where I was going with that, but I haven't had a beard like that. I haven't been comfortable with the beard since then, and especially because a lot of the girls after that were like, "Yeah, no, it just like pokes my face," and I can't have that. I don't want to be poking anybody's face. Um, so where was I going with this? Oh, the Cape Cod Baseball League, right? So I was like kind of tan at the time, and I realized if I'm not outside, I'm not a very tan guy. And I realized this probably the past like even in Los Angeles, like there's not, I mean, there's sun every day, but if you're working inside in an office, you're not, you're going outside a lot. And so I was starting to get like more pale than I had normally been, over the years. Like I remember like as an undergrad, I was pretty much constantly tan because I was trying to stay in like spring break tan form. Not from that spring break, but PCB the following year, I was just like probably at an all-time high physique level and everything. I just wanted to maintain that tan. And I think tanning is fun because it's like a meditative activity, and you go in the tanning bed or whatever, and it's just like it feels like you're at the beach, and it's like nice and cozy, and you get the smell of the what do you call it, lotion, and so it's nice to me, and it's meditative, and it's calming. Well, whatever. So I used to do that, and it's like it's kind of cool because you go with girls and stuff, and or maybe you go with guys and stuff, and either way. But um, and I was thinking about it, and I'm actually not a very tan guy. I can tan, but I realized recently that I'm a pale guy, and it really has to take me being outside a lot if I'm going to get tan. So back to Freddie Prinze Jr. and Summer Catch, because here's a guy that is was kind of like your one of your biggest bastards of the late '90s, early 2000s, I would say, right? And he was pretty tan guy, Freddie Prinze Jr. And he played a good role. He was like, I guess his dad. Speaking of landscaping, his dad was like owned a landscaping company in Cape Cod up there, and there's a Cape Cod baseball league, and so he played, and he was a very good pitcher, I believe, lefty, right? And so the premise is like Jessica Biel is like this privileged, affluent daughter that just kind of stays in Cape Cod for the summer with her family, but she doesn't live there. Like Freddie Prinze Jr. lives there. He lives there. His dad's working class guy, works with his hands, landscaping, and they're like they've got a nice house and everything. But his big thing is baseball. Like he's got to have something to kind of mobilize and get him to like the middle class or whatever. So he's just like big on baseball. And his brother was kind of a dropout, was really good at baseball, but then something happened and he wasn't. And the father the same. So the father was kind of living vicariously through Freddie Prinze Jr. So whatever. Jessica Biel comes up for the summer, and one thing leads to another, and they hit it off and they start this relationship. Summer Catch, and it's a good film. I liked it. I give it 3 out of 4 stars. Maybe what do I give it actually? You know what? I give it like a B minus because I think there could have been other things to add to it to spice it up a little bit, but I think it was good. And it's just the story of like because she has to hide the relationship because she doesn't feel like her family would approve, and her father is like just trying to hook her up with this other guy that is probably in, her dad's golf league or one of her dad's golf buddies' kids or something. And so it's just like this whole thing of like class and tension, and Freddie Prinze Jr. is trying to get in with his family, and obviously they're just there to vacation for the summer, and so it's really tough for him. And to be honest, I didn't see like the last 15 minutes of it, but I think it's good. And I'm just going to guess that it ends in like a love thing, right? Like where they probably get together and they they come between class to find love, and true love is no divider; it's an equalizer. Yeah, something like that. Maybe. I don't know. It's just it's a good film, and it reminds me of this other film that I saw recently. Only it didn't work out so well. I don't think. Nor that it should not have worked out this well. And it's called The Tender Bar, and it's on Amazon. It's an Amazon original. Ben Affleck just did a crazy good job. And The Tender Bar is on Amazon right now. Um, it's got a really good cast, though. I mean, aside from Ben Affleck, Ty Sheridan is the kind of the main role. Christopher Lloyd plays the grandfather, and so kind of like Jessica Biel in this would be Brianna Middleton, who's her name is Sydney in the movie. So I'll read you guys the little spiel. By the way, directed by George Clooney. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. But here it goes. 1972, 9-year-old J.R. Maguire, that's Ty Sheridan, moves into his grandfather's dilapidated house on Long Island, searching for a father figure. He falls under the unconventional tutelage, I believe is the word, tutelage of his Uncle Charlie, a charismatic, self educated bartender who introduces him to a handful of the bar's colorful regulars. So he kind of like has his education kind of in the school, but also in the bar. They teach him kind of like street smarts, common sense, things like that, what have you. And as the years pass and JR grows into a young man, he tries to fulfill his dream of becoming a writer. So he goes to Yale, and that's where he meets Brianna Middleton, Sydney, and they hit it off, But she's like really privileged, like comes from an affluent family and what have you. And Jr. really feels like he. At first, he's like all about it. He's like, whatever, like I'll be cool, I'll be myself, I'll be good. But then her family kind of rubs him the wrong way, like at breakfast. After she snuck him in one night, he took like the train to go see her. I think she from like Westport or Bridgeport, Connecticut, I believe. So he takes the train to go see her from his South Shore, Long Island home, whatever, and gets up there. They make love. Parents hear it. So the next morning at breakfast, kind of awkward. And remember, he's like this kind of raggedy kid from the South Shore of Long Island whose uncle just like manages or owns a bar. His father's not, by the way, his father's like supposed to be this big radio personality. Um, but he's like an absent father. So anyway, he goes up there and they just like they fire away at the breakfast table and he's trying to eat this scone. It's like it's really dry and he can't really eat it. It's just you feel it, you know what I mean? Like we've all been there where something's just so dry and you can't eat it. But you're especially if you're like surrounded by other people, it's just so awkward, especially if they're coming at you from every which way. And it was very much a class issue because they felt very strongly probably about another guy that she was seeing and didn't tell JR that she was seeing. And so this is just like the struggle as they go forth in their education. This was like their freshman year at Yale, and then it progresses, and then he comes over some more, and the family still hates him. But then, they still get together like senior year at her apartment or something. And which, by the way, I think I wrote into one of my screenplays that I wrote. It was like this thing where like I hook up with not the girlfriend, but the girlfriend's friend, like senior year before graduation. And it's like this whole thing. It's like, oh my God, why didn't we see each other 3 years ago? And I think that's a really good plot for a movie. But anyway, this was not like this. He didn't hook up with any friends, although he probably should have in retrospect. But JR's character is a struggling writer, and then so he tries to forget about it, starts drinking. Remember his uncle Charlie owns this bar. It's Ben Affleck owns this bar, and so he keeps going back there and boozing it up and writing, trying to find stories. Um, and his dad kind of drifts away to like North Carolina or something, and isn't on the radio in New York anymore, and so he gets really depressed. And then the New York Times doesn't pick him up after the internship, so he's not employed there, right? Kind of like Brian Flores for the New York Giants. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I just think it was a really good film, and it ends kind of sad. He does kind of stick up to his father and is like, "What are you doing? Like you're drunk," and yada yada yada. The mother's like becomes successful. She's like this, single mother, and I think eventually he gets together. He gets like a book deal or something, which is kind of the avenue that he wanted to take anyway. But I like Ben Affleck in this role, man. He's like that just uncle that kind of like takes charge and is like, somebody's got to raise this kid, and he does a great job. And but the class thing here is like they don't work out at all, and I think it kind of takes place in the early '80s. I want to say like when they're at Yale together and when he meets the parents. And I don't know that things have changed since then. I think they have, because I'm an optimist, but it does feel like that class thing is still there, where if like somebody's kind of lower middle class, um, and they have like this funny thing they say. I think it was from a who wrote that? It wasn't originally from this film, right? Like George Clooney didn't invent this phrase. It was from a novel, I believe, um, maybe Orwell or something like that. And they say they're not upper class, speaking to her family, Sydney's family. They're, what was it? Lower upper middle or something, or lower upper middle class, or lower upper middle, upper, I don't know. But it was like, it's like this Orwellian saying, I believe. And anyway, but it's just like that class shock maybe, and it's like, wow, she has all these things. And another thing too is because she's, I believe, full, or maybe she's half black. She's like half black too, and I don't know if that had any. And I don't think that really factors in. I was thinking about this the other day too. It was like growing up. I had like, one of my best friends is dark skinned, and it's like he had a bigger house than mine. Like I never thought of like colored as to do anything with like prestige or power or influence. I thought everybody had equal shot or equal opportunity, so to speak, um, to influence society and to have like your money and stuff like that. I mean, I remember like flying to see my grandparents like in Arizona, and on the way from Arizona, we had to like fly through Arizona. We had to fly through Atlanta on the way home, and there was just like this really rich black family, and they were just like the preppiest kids I've ever seen in my life. And I was a preppy kid, right? So like I could spot, like you know, I was more of a Will Smith than a Carlton, but to the same respect, like I was half Carlton, you know what I mean? And so like I know the Carltons when I see them, and I'm just like, holy shit! Like these people are loaded, and I mean they had like all these devices, and I'm like 12 years old, right? And I'm just like, my dad would never buy me this stuff. So it just goes to show it has nothing to do with color. And that wasn't the first thing I even thought of then. I was just like, damn, why are these people in coach? You know? That- and so, but it's amazing that in 2021, some of these things that I hear on campus today, it's like some, dark skinned folks do really feel like they were like super disadvantaged growing up. And I don't think it's because of their color, but I do think Brian Flores has a great lawsuit. I think that this is absolutely because of color, because I think that old institutions and the systematic, functionality of them actually is depressingly has to do more with color than we'd like to think. But I think when you're a kid and just like the average middle class family in America, color has nothing to do with anything. I think, but if you're lower class, like up, kind of low income, not lower class, but low income, we'll say, kind of right around the poverty, like 28 to 33,000, single mother, maybe grew up in Spanish Lake, Missouri, or something like that. Because I would play them in like Little League football, and I just remember them. They were really good in eighth grade. Anyway, I think that that's one of the like that's what they think because they don't know the suburbs that have like very affluent, dark skinned people like them living there. Like that, I don't think they realize that. Like, so it's just one of those things. It's like it's all relative, right? Like it's all relative. And I think nowadays, when you talk about like money, prestige, influence, it has nothing to do with color, but it has everything to do with what you're used to, what you're accustomed to, what you think. And it's hard to get into the mind of what someone thinks. But I will say that like if you grow up in certain neighborhoods, for me, like I could tell, like it would be easy for me to think like, oh man, those are just some rich white folks out there, and because they've never been there, so they don't realize when they actually get there, you know, there's there's white guys with yarmulkes, there's black guys with do rags. I mean, so I'm just like, but if you don't know, you don't know, and so but so I don't think it's healthy then to be so judgmental, like the Sydney's family was, and the Tender Bar. So, you know, I think the most judgmental people are that kind of lower upper middle class, or what is it, lower upper class, something like that. Whatever they say, you guys got to watch it. But George Clooney, just watch the film; it's fantastic. I don't know if it's his directorial debut, but I'm a huge Clooney fan. I think he did a great job. So it's set in '72, so he probably went to college in like I don't know 79, 80. Um, but I feel like Yale in 79, 80 would be the equivalent to like Mizzou in 95, because things take time to, and that's not a knock on Mizzou. It's just like things take time, like social things. And sometimes like what started on the East Coast, like I'm saying, like I grew up around a lot of East Coast people and, going to the East Coast all the time. And so like I could tell like in Brooklyn is much different than even St. Louis, in 2007, we'll say, you know so it's just like, so I think like parts of the Midwest, yeah, like they're a little slower to progress, and that's a shame. But at the same time, they're great places to grow up if you're in the right neighborhood. And but if you're not in the right neighborhood, like don't judge that other neighborhood, maybe, right? I don't know, something like that. But I'm gonna go, peace out to the live stream. That's it for me today. Bird is the word, song of the day. And I'm glad you guys got to see my face, but this microphone sucks, so I have to take it off for the actual Yeah, podcast. All right, good times.